Hello and welcome to Draft Thunder. I'm Andrew,
I'm Ben, and this is John Claude.
and we are here to bring you preseason week 4 content. So we're going to just jump right into it. It's a big slate this week, literally the biggest it can be. I think, there's no matching this slate, but we have
everyone's playing.
all 16 games on Thursday. So really there's a lot of players that are going to be possible in this. We are just going to try and pick out the best ones with the most volume and who we think has shown to be pretty good so far in the preseason, but should also get a good amount of playing time here.
Yeah, most of the teams, if not all the teams, aren't going to play their starters. They're ready for the regular season to start just like we are. As of tonight, we're 9 days away from Thursday Night Football, so that's exciting. It's going to be a lot of guys that are either fighting for a roster spot or probably won't make one anyway, but they're just going to kind of see some time in the second half.
Exactly. So we will jump right into it, and I will start off with my quarterback, who I think is going to be one of the best of the week, in my opinion, and that is Jarrett Stidham. Yeah. So basically, he's the guy for the Patriots. He's the third string behind Tom Brady and Brian Hoyer. I think he should be above Brian Hoyer, but I think they want Hoyer because of his experience. He's actually started an NFL game. I don't think Stidham has. Nah. Is he a rookie?
No, it's second or third year.
I don't know too much about him, but he's been showing out really well in the preseason. He has been a top 3 quarterback when it's come to yards. And really, like last week, he threw for 134 yards. That was not including a touchdown, but I expect him to play even more this week because that was with 12 attempts from Tom Brady. That whole first half was super slow. The whole game was super slow. The final score was 10-3 Patriots.
Yeah.
So I expect him to be playing more and to get more passing attempts in this game, and I think he should get at least a touchdown, hopefully over 150 yards, and he should be a good play here.
Yeah, I would agree, especially if he plays the whole game. So my first quarterback is going to be Chad Swag Kelly. So obviously Andrew Luck retired, so that leaves Jacoby Brissett to start the game or start the season for them as their starter. And then you have just Philip Walker and Chad Kelly. I know Jacoby's not going to play. I think they want to see what Chad Kelly might be able to do in extended time. He's done pretty well this preseason, and then obviously he has the suspension to start the year. So I think they need to see what he can do if he's even going to make the team. So I expect him to have a lot of time here and to do pretty well.
I think so too, and he's got that rushing upside too. But just go ahead because literally Jarrett Stidham is probably the only guy I'm playing along with another play. You're gonna say
okay. Is that Trace?
Yes, it's Trace.
Yeah. So I think we've talked about him in depth a ton here, but a guy that obviously no Lamar, RG3 still hurt. It's just him and Callahan still. So Trace, I saw a report today that says that he's done enough to make the team as to where the Ravens want to use him in the regular season, but I still think he's going to play a lot here. Joe Callahan's just going to get cut. There's no doubt about it. So why not give Trace 3/4 plus of action to see what he can do in a quarterback role for the last time probably all year until next preseason. But to see if he can throw the ball, if they can come up with some trick plays where he can throw the ball off a pitch or whatever the case might be. So I think he'll see an extended look, and he's done really well since the first week. After that bad first week, he's come back a lot. So also rushing upside with him as well.
Yep.
And then the last one I'm just interested in is Dwayne Haskins. So it's gonna be the last time they can see him. Case Keenum was announced a starter. Colt McCoy keeps not practicing. We'll see what he ends up with if he ever comes back. That first 4 or 5 games for the Redskins is brutal. If I remember correctly, I think that their plan might be to have Keenum start those 4 games, kind of be the scapegoat, and then bring in Haskins. So I like Haskins to get an extended look here. He's made mistakes, but he also has a big arm. He can rush a little bit. But he should see extended time as they try to get a gauge on whether or not they think that he can be a starter this year or if they need to wait.
Yeah, they said that they're kind of giving the keys to drive ahead in this game, and I don't know. They haven't said what that means. If it means he's gonna play the whole game, he's gonna start. But we'll see.
I assume he'll start.
If we see him go in the whole game, I like him as a play 2 or at least 3/4.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is also going to start this week, but I don't know how much to expect from him. They kind of like Loletta as well, and they still Alex Tanney, so I don't think he'll play a ton.
And the last one we're interested in that we both talked about was Etling on the Falcons. So that depends on how Matt Sims, right?
Sims, yeah.
Yeah, Sims, the backup quarterback for the Falcons. It depends on if he is going to play because I know he's questionable. But Etling could be a really good play with his rushing upside. But let's move on to running backs.
Yeah.
And I have 3 of them this week, but I'll start out with D'Angelo Henderson. So he is the Vikings, probably the last running back on that depth chart. And there's a lot to think about when you look at the Vikings running backs. You obviously have Dalvin Cook, and he is the person who's going to be the starter for them. But then you have a little bit of a situation. Madison's going to be the number 2. They say they really like him, so I don't expect to see him playing in this game. And then we have Amir Abdullah, Mike Boone, and Henderson. Now, you could play Mike Boone. You can play Mike Boone. I assume he'll be highly owned. The thing is, I don't know how much of a run he's going to get here. Mike Boone has been doing well in the preseason. I think even the announcers for the Vikings, when I was watching the game last week, they were like, Mike Boone has solidified that role as the third back. And I think he has too, because he's shown out to be really good. So they kind of need to see more out of Henderson and Abdul in this game. And I thought they need to see more of Amir last game, but he only got, I think, 1 rushing attempt, maybe 2. So really, I expect to see a lot of Henderson here. This is more volume play. I like Boone as a running back probably more. He's very talented. But D'Angelo Henderson should see more snaps in this game and should almost have probably the whole second half to himself. Mm-hmm. So I really like him. I'm going to go through one more, and that will be Darrell Williams for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a little bit tricky here, but I think that he's in the right spot on the roster to be a play. So he's behind Damian Williams and now Darwin Thompson, who has come up to get that second roster spot. He'll be the third roster spot, and he will probably be mixed in with Tremont Smith, who's also kind of interesting. But I expect Darrell Williams to play probably the whole first half in this game, and just that Chiefs offense being as explosive as it is going against Green Bay, who we talked about last week being the worst rushing defense in the preseason. I expect that to show here too, and Darrell should have a lot of opportunities in the passing game and the run game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much he plays. I'm interested. He's been taking first-team snaps along with Damian Williams and Thompson. Carlos Hyde hasn't been, which is why I might think that maybe they might slow him down a little bit. Oh, he got cut?
Yeah. Or he's on Smart Team now.
Or he was going to get cut. I don't think they did yet.
Hold on. Let me find that out. But if there is some reason, I think Tremont Smith would be the guy to play, actually. Okay. But it's going to either be Darrell Williams or Tremont Smith. But I think Carlos Hyde's somewhere else now.
Okay. We'll figure that out while I move on to my running backs. I think there was just talk that he was going to get cut.
I guess so.
Because he's not getting any first-team reps in practice or anything. He's running strictly with the second team. But still, Williams, being that third guy, hopefully still needs to see what he can do.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, moving on to I only have 2 running backs this week. So I'm going to start out with Delance Turner in Baltimore. So we talked about their running back situation and Kenneth Dixon and Gus Edwards and Mark Ingram. All are going to make the team. So you're just left with Delance Turner and Tyler Ervin. Ervin's been using more in the return game, hasn't really been in the backfield a ton. So I think Delance Turner is going to get a ton of run here. I mean, they're not going to open up any of those guys to injury. Maybe Kenneth Dixon a little bit because he might need to make a roster. And Justice Hill's kind of proven that he's been that passing down, really, really explosive back. They're not going to get him hurt. He's going to make the roster. So, I mean, you might see a lot of Kenneth Dixon to prove himself, but I think you're going to see a ton of Delance Turner. I think he's been a guy that's been on the practice squad for a few years now. So I think he averaged about 4 yards a carry, had a couple catches last week, but he should see a ton of time here. So I like him a lot. And then the other one I'm going to go to is Jordan Chun. So honestly, don't know a ton about him, but he had a couple catches last week, including a touchdown. He ran the ball pretty effectively. Obviously, you're not going to see, Zeke's still not there in Dallas. He's on Dallas. I don't believe you'll see a ton of Tony Pollard, as he's going to need to be the starting running back if Zeke never shows up. Alfred Morris hasn't been in the mix at all. So Jordan Chun's kind of been that guy for them that they've gone to in the second half. So I think he'll see a ton of run.
Yeah, no, I like that play a lot. And just one thing to touch on, Carlos Hyde, there was talks that he would go to Houston because when Lamar Miller went down, so they thought that happened, and it's probable he's going to get cut. So really, you can mix in Darrell Williams, Carlos Hyde, but actually now I'm probably going to scratch that play of Darrell Williams. He was the third back I had on here anyway. Um, so you can mix him into GPPs, but probably don't like him as much, not as much upside anymore.
Yeah, no, I think he solidified
Yeah,
himself.
but I will go to my second best back, who is shown really a lot in the preseason. That's Ogunbowale for the Bucks. I've gotten better since week 1 at saying that.
Yeah.
A little bit. But really, he's just been a guy who's went off. I don't know his exact stats, but last week he came in as that third back, fourth back on the roster. I can't remember exactly which one it is. But he's fighting with Andre Ellington for that third back. And I expect to see both of them in this game, but I expect them to show more of Ogunbowale and prove what he's got. I think Ellington's kind of a guy who they see more on special teams. I know he's been doing some work as a returner, actually, even though he seems kind of old to be a returner.
Man, I forgot about him.
I know.
I
It's
used
kind
to
of
love
sad.
him.
I know.
Poor guy.
Yeah, well, who drove him out of the spot? Was it Dave
I
Johnson?
think it was David Johnson.
And he got hurt. I
Yeah,
think.
he was hurt for a while.
Yeah, he was a whole ass mess. But yeah, Ogunbowale is a really good option here. I expect him to see a lot of work. There's Bruce Anderson, who will probably get the little scraps at the end, but Ogunbowale should be the head of this game.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's been talks of him, making the roster, obviously. So I think he'll do pretty well in this game, in this spot. Caught a couple passes. He had 4 targets last week, so that's nice. So yeah, well, you're done with running back, yeah? Yep. No.
That's all I got.
Okay, yeah. Let's move on to wide receiver here. So one of my top wide receivers this week is going to be Jaleel Scott. So another Ravens play here, but it's just kind of because we know more about the situation and who is really fighting for the bubble. So Ravens kind of have 5 receivers locked in. And on the outside, looking in for that 6th spot is Jaleel Scott. He's fighting with Michael Floyd, who could also be an interesting play here. I just like Jaleel Scott a little bit better. He's a younger guy. I think if it came down to a tie, I think the Ravens would pick him as he was a draft pick last year, as opposed to an older veteran in Michael Floyd. But maybe they want that veteran presence. Anyway, they're both fighting for that 6th spot, so I honestly expect them to be in the game the entire time because they really need to show out. And they've been getting 5 to 6 targets the past 2 weeks each. Trace really likes them. They're both big bodies. I prefer Jaleel Scott here. He typically does more with his opportunity. I know Floyd caught a touchdown last week, but it was pretty wide open on a fade route. But I really like Scott here. I think Trace will look to him early and often. I really do think he'll play most of the game, if not all of it, as they fight out that final wide receiver spot. Obviously, the other ones will mix in, but as they're not really a threat to that 6th spot, I think you're going to see a ton of Scott. You're going to see a ton of Floyd, but I lean Scott in this game.
Yeah, I also had Jaleel Scott written down then. He said he had him, so I know he has more information on him, but yeah, he's a really good play. And then Oakland, we both have a play for Oakland, and both of them honestly seem like really good options. They both are people fighting for the roster. I'll start out with DeMornay Pearson L. It's kind of a weird hyphen at the end, but he got 10 targets last game, and he was getting a target down to the last, I think it might have been the last snap of the game, like an incomplete pass to him or something. He was in that last drive. So that's who we're kind of looking for, those guys who saw a decent amount of volume but played until the end of the last game, because they are probably going to be the guys who are highlighted in this game. And he's fighting for the bubble spot on the end of the roster. They have a lot of mid-tier receivers on Oakland, so that 6-7 spot can be kind of hard to come by. He only caught 6 of those balls for 30 yards, so I can only imagine if he gets somewhere around 10 targets. I feel like 6 for 30 is literally the minimum you can get with 10 targets. So it's only upside from there, possibly getting a touchdown. It's obviously a guy that the quarterbacks like to target. He's in the right spot at the right time. So I think that he is a great volume play here.
Yeah, I like that play. I'll go to my Oakland guy, and it's Keelan Dawson. Hopefully this isn't just a Hard Knocks thing, but, I mean, it seems like Gruden really likes him. He's still pretty down on the depth chart, but he's done really well with the opportunities he's had. He had 6 targets last week. He caught 4 of them. Was their leading receiver with over 50 yards. So that's a nice little day. I think he'll be showcased again in this game. Obviously, he still needs to make the team. They have a bunch of receivers ahead of him, so I think he'll see a lot of time again here. Should be those 2 guys for most of the game, fighting it out for the roster.
You could, both are good options, but you could even stack them, really. There's no, I don't have any going against stacking. I know last week, if you stacked, let's say, two Vikings running backs. Like, both Dalvin Cook scored for that long touchdown, and then Mike Boone went off too. So it's just like they're pretty separate with where plays go in these games. So really, you can have multiple people go off on a team. So that could be an interesting stack right there, even though you're not going to play quarterback probably with
You could though.
Pierman and Glennon.
I'm
I was
looking
thinking
at
about
it.
that too. Yeah.
If we find out time, I mean, last week I think we said Glennon, and then they just showed Peterman. So who knows what they want to do this week?
I hate this.
Yeah, it sucks. But it is a team that only has two quarterback options. You're not going to see Derek Carr. So if we find out a split, that could be an interesting play.
I'll go through my last two receivers who are plays who I have gotten just from watching the teams. The first one is Obalishi Johnson. So he's a receiver for the Vikings. He's a very big receiver, and he's somebody else who you see at the end of the preseason games in the second half of week 3. He's seen a pretty decent amount of targets. I think he got 4 targets, 3 catches, something like that. But he's just a guy who they say they want to make the team, but he kind of needs to show more. So he should be definitely highlighted in this game, and he seems to have good chemistry with those quarterbacks near the back end. So I really like him. Now I'll talk about Pharaoh Cooper. He's a guy, I think he made the Pro Bowl a few years ago for special teams as a returner when he was on the Rams.
Sounds right.
I think. It might have been a different team. He might have been in Oakland too. I don't know. But anyway, he is a Pro Bowl returner, and they want him as a return guy. The only problem is he kind of sucks. So he gets a lot of looks in the end of the game, also in that third preseason game, because they want him to step up as a receiver, so they can keep him as a return guy. And he was doing all the returns at the end of the game too. So he saw 3 targets, which doesn't seem like a lot, but 2 of those targets that I remember watching were on like flies, like they're deep balls to him, like down the middle of the field, where if it was a good throw, it would have been probably a 60-yard touchdown watching that game. So I think he has a lot of upside in this game to break one out, and he's just got that high potential that we want in these lineups right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I remember hearing about Obalishi Johnson a few times this preseason, so hopefully he steps up here.
Hopefully.
I just have one more wide receiver play, and that's going to be Johnny Holton for the Steelers. He had 4 targets last week. He only converted 2 of them, but looking at who caught the ball for the Steelers last week, at least half of those guys are going to be wiped out because they're not going to play, as they played a lot of their starting receivers last week, and even the fringe guys like Eli Rogers and Ryan Switzer and guys of that nature I don't expect to see a ton of. So I think he'll play a ton here. Obviously, he converted only 2 of his 4, but I like him as a guy, as a volume play here. Obviously, someone that at least 1 or 2 of the quarterbacks look to. Is on the field a lot, even last week, so I think he'll see a ton of time here, and they got to just mix into your lineups.
And I'm actually going to add one more because I see who was the top guy for Tennessee. Khalif Raymond is someone to consider in these lineups because he's the guy who also played that second half towards the end of the game. He had 5 targets, caught all 5 balls. He looked like a really good receiver. But they have so many guys. They have Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, Tywin Taylor, A.J. Brown, who's a rookie who they can't really cut, Tajay Sharp. And there's just all those guys who are kind of up there, and he's going to be fighting for that 6-7 spot, but he has a lot of talent, and you could definitely tell from watching that game against the Steelers. So I really like him there. And did you know the Griffey guy? Trey Griffey, he's Ken Griffey Jr.'s son.
I actually didn't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 1 catch, 23 yards. Don't blame him.
That's cool, though.
You know, you could.
There's a lot of guys I think you can play this week.
We think these are the best guys that should get at least some.
Yeah, I mean, no one's really made cuts yet. I mean, some cuts are starting to trickle in. Like, I know Zach Center got cut today, but...
Oh.
Yeah, I know. But, a ton of players that are going to see time in these games with 16 games on the slate.
Also,
it's insane.
David Fales got cut, too.
Oh.
Their quarterback. So I guess the Lions made cuts today.
Lions made a few, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to tight end.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did they not cut Mark Thompson?
I didn't see.
Huh.
I'm not sure.
Because that could be useful. Okay, well, again, just follow us on Twitter. We will put
There's
out
going to be a lot of late-minute news, I think, coming with this slate as we find out playing time and who's warming up and who's not. So, yeah, definitely follow us on Twitter and also comment and ask questions because I think there's going to be a lot of late news coming in Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, but we'll go around tight end. You're right. I only have, I think, one guy I'm going to play in most of my lives this week, and it is a guy who has proven he's a safe play at running back. I'm just going to say it.
Tight end?
Yeah, Tanner Hudson.
You said
Oh God.
Definitely not a running back.
Definitely not running back. But Tanner Hudson has been extremely solid in the preseason. When I just pulled what he did last game, they only scored 13 points. But really, yeah, he did pretty well for himself. He got 7 targets. He caught 4 of those balls for 49 yards. So they're definitely someone that he likes at tight end. The only problem is they have 2 pretty good tight ends in front of him in O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. And there's also this Auclair guy who they apparently like. So Hudson, even though this other guy's hurt, is still fighting for the spot with him apparently. Mm-hmm. So we should see him be highlighted in this game. And the problem is Leggett got in the end zone last time. But they're doing a lot of 2 tight end sets because that's what they're going to be doing in the regular season with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. So they're trying to get those formations figured out with these second teams. And Hudson should see a lot of volume here, I think, too. And it's a good spot for him to fight for that last roster spot. And I think he should get about what he's been getting, at least 7 or 8 targets his way.
Yeah, I like that. And I also only have 1 tight end this week. And it's going to be Troy Fumagalli. There's a long story involved, but his name's popped up a lot in my apartment recently. But he was the leading receiver for Denver last week. Another guy trying to fight for the roster spot, Jake Butt, just came back because he had 2 catches last week. Obviously, Noah Fant in front of him, and Hierman as that starter right now. But I think Fumagalli is going to see a lot of time again. He's converted all 5 of his passes last week. He's that check down guy for Denver when the backups come in, like Ripien, and Hogan. So I think he'll see a ton of time again. He's a guy with hands. He can catch the ball a little bit. Normally more of a blocking tight end, but as you can see, when he kind of leaks out, he gets his targets and he gets his catches. So I think he's a guy that can definitely bolster your lineups.
Yeah, I agree. That was my other tight end play too. So really, those 2 guys should be solid in your lineups. For tight end, we're just looking for points. We just need points. So yeah, defense this week is kind of a little tricky. So
good luck.
Yeah, all of the totals for these games are about 33 to 35. Mm-hmm. So they expect low-scoring games. So it's really going to be choosing who you think are the worst quarterbacks, like we said, and who's been doing the worst as an offense. Now, what I said about the Lions and knowing who's going to be out for them, the Browns' backup defense has been doing pretty good in the preseason, and I think that they will be good play here. Because you'll be left with Josh Johnson probably, who isn't exactly the best.
Hey.
But the other problem is he is kind of a rushing threat at times. Mm. So, I mean, that's just something to consider. You just know who you're going against there, which is the positive to that. But you can only say so much about that. The Cowboys have been getting a lot of sacks. Another one to be a team target against would be the Titans. So I really like the Bears here because the Titans' offensive line looked absolutely horrid last week.
Something to consider for week 1 as well.
Yes, because Taylor Lewan will be out for a few weeks due to a suspension. So who they play week 1? The Browns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Myles Garrett should be having a little bit of fun with that. So yeah, that's just another team to consider. And then I guess the Ravens is the final one that I would have, and I'm taking all the defenses, but that's fine. We are going against who again? I'm sorry.
We're playing the Redskins.
Okay, the Redskins, yeah. So I expect Dwayne Haskins to make mistakes being the guy. And I just think the Ravens have been playing well. They care about the preseason obviously a lot more than the Redskins. The Redskins are probably just trying to get through, not hurt.
Yeah.
We're trying to win. And I know it's us saying our Ravens play again, and that will be probably for us the defense because we also want to watch them because that does take a lot of lean. But I think that they'll still end up being one of the top 5 defenses this week and probably have one of the safest floors out of all of the teams.
Yeah, I would agree. There's not much more to say about that.
No.
The Texans are interesting, but they've been giving up a ton of points. Just because the Rams don't really play in the preseason.
The Rams are a good team to target against. It's really just finding those teams who haven't been successful. The Jags are also a team. The Falcons. I kind of like the Falcons a little more, but the Jags have not been good in the preseason. I think I saw they've gotten 17 points.
Yeah,
it's something horrid. But the Falcons isn't great.
No.
So
it's a crapshoot. I would go with floors. I mean, you have no idea who's going to score. It could be just the strangest things for defenses to score. So Go with teams that you think will get you sacks. Something that I think at least I'm going to be talking about when we get to the regular season is not caring as much about projected points against. We'll get more into this, but the Chiefs last year I think were the sixth best defense in daily fantasy, even though their defense wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Just more opportunities with other teams throwing the ball.
Yeah.
That's more regular season, but yeah, definitely go with floor. It's a crapshoot as to who's going to score, who's going to get picks, who's going to get turnovers. So teams that can get you sacks are very important.
Yep. So this is the last video that we'll have of the preseason.
Thank Lord.
Which is pretty exciting. As much as we love the preseason, it does eventually get old.
I'm ready for it to be over. There's too many players.
We had a good little run though.
Yeah, I had a good week last week.
Yeah, I did too.
So I think we're just talking about pushing some content out a little bit earlier this week. I think for the regular season, our normal schedule will be about Tuesday or Wednesday still. Thursday videos for showdowns and whatnot. But this week, we're going to try to roll video out Sunday or Monday for both Thursday night and main slate on Sunday. So look out for that. We'll talk about what other content we want to push out for week one. So start reserving those week one lineups. Hopefully we built bankroll big enough to satisfy your week one needs. I know I'm excited to start the regular season.
Yep. So be sure to follow us on Twitter at DraftUnderDFS to stay live with updates, and comment, like, and subscribe to our page here on YouTube. We appreciate the support that we've gotten, and we hope that we can carry it into the regular season.
Yeah.
So I look forward to this week. I think that we are going to do great on this big slate. We will probably have more plays coming your way. So again, stay tuned with that. But that's all we have. So Good luck this week, and thank you for watching.
Thanks.